about wearing tefillin on the morning of Tish'a? So according to some authorities, tefillin is not worn at all. These authorities include the Ra'avad, the Maram Rotenberg, the Shipuli Haleket, the Meiri, the Samag, and the Rokeah. And their reasoning is that Tish'a is a national day of mourning, so it's comparable to the first day of mourning for a person who lost a close relative. Now, if the death and the burial occur on the same day, the mourners do not wear tefillin on that first day. So they compare to BeAb to such a case. So, interestingly, Harambam writes that there were some Hachamim that didn't wear the tefillin shel Rosh on Tish'a. On the other hand, we have other authorities that don't compare Tish'a to the first day of mourning, but rather to the subsequent days of mourning when the mourners do wear tefillin, and therefore they do require tefillin on the morning of Tish'a. Amongst those authorities are many Geonim, the Ramban, the Ritba, the Ran, and the Nimukei Yosef. Maran in Shulchan Aruch requires tefillin on Tish'a, but he says that we can fulfill our obligation of tefillin in Minha, and therefore he says the custom is not to wear talit and tefillin at all for Shahri, just wear a talit katan, and then in Minha you wear talit and tefillin. But this is an exceptional rule. Normally the rule is to follow the rulings of Maran, but in this case, different customs developed in various Middle Eastern communities. So to be Moshe Galanti, he was a rabbi in Yerushalayim in the 17th century. So his custom was to wear talit and tefillin at home, read Kiryat Shema with the talit and tefillin, and then go to the Beit Knesset afterwards and pray without talit and tefillin. And this is because he wanted to have Kiryat Shema with tefillin, Kiryat Shema of Shahrit with tefillin, and therefore that was his custom. There were others that wore talit and tefillin at home, but they prayed from the beginning of the prayers up until and including the silent Amidah. And the reason they did this is because they wanted to have not only Shema with tefillin, but the Amidah with tefillin as well. And then they took off the tefillin, they went to the Beit Knesset, they said the Kinot in the Beit Knesset, they heard Sefer Torah, they read Echan, the end of the prayers. So the authorities that record this custom is Rabbi Haim Palachi. It's also recorded in a famous Sidur known as Bet Obed, which contains many halachot. It was a very popular and considered an authoritative Sidur in the 19th century. Rabbi Haim Menashe Tehon, who wrote a book of the customs of Eretz Yisrael known as Eretz Hayim. He also included this as the custom in Eretz Yisrael. Rabbi Shem Tov Gagin, in his book on customs, entitled Keter Shem Tov, also described this as the custom. It was also the custom in Jerba. What was the custom in Halab? In Halab, most prayed at home with talit and tefillin up until and including the silent Amidah, and came to the Beit Knesset afterwards for Kinot, as we said, Sefer Torah, Echan, the end of the prayers. But there were those that wore the tefillin at home only to recite Kadesh Li and Kiryat Shema, and then they came to the Beit Knesset and they recited the prayers with a minyan, but without talit and tefillin. Nobody wore talit and tefillin in the Beit Knesset in Shahrit of Tish'a ben Halab. So what about those that do wear talit and tefillin in the Beit Knesset? This was the custom of the knis known as Beit El, which was a knis of Mekubalim in Yerushalayim, and eventually this spread to other Batei Knesset in Yerushalayim. Hacham Yosef Alav Shalom promoted this custom, so that really became a prevalent custom in Eretz Yisrael. But our tradition is no talit and tefillin in the knis in Shahrit, only in Minha.